Hey guys, hope we're all doing amazingly well today. I wanted to jump on here ahead of the launch on Monday for Titanium, my luxury designer swimwear brand, which we are going to be releasing 50 black and 50 white garments. I'm sure you've seen them now on my page. I've showed a few images, and I want to say a huge thank you for the enthusiasm and support many of you have shown. In this live, I want to go through just some reflective thoughts on how the journey's been so far, because a lot of you might be watching this journey thinking, okay, well, what does it actually involve to set up a clothing line? What has my experiences been? What have my challenges been? I've come up with a few reflective questions that hopefully will give you guys an insight into what this journey is about, and just to bring you in on it a little bit more closely. And like I say, it might be interesting to you, but it also might be interesting from the perspective of perhaps you're considering doing something similar yourself, and you may well benefit from some of these reflections now that we're almost at the finish line of our first release. By the way, really quickly, it is only 50 black and 50 white that we're releasing on Monday. Okay, these are beautiful garments. If you do want to get your hands on a pair or a couple of pairs, then what I advise is go to the website, which is www.wear-ti.com, and just subscribe to our mailing list. Okay, that way you'll be notified on Monday when the site is live. You'll get added benefits and so on and so forth. So the link is in my bio. It's wear-ti.com. Subscribe. Okay, it's just a mailing list. We'll keep you posted with drops and so on and so forth. So yeah, get on that. But like I said, in this live, I've got a few questions that I've been reflecting on myself, which you guys might find quite interesting. So the first question is, what inspired me to create this swimwear line, and what does it represent to me personally? Okay, so I'll try and keep this brief. In 2019, I was competing in bodybuilding. I'd done 7 shows, and I headed out to Dubai for the first time to train, to meet some friends out there, and just to be in that kind of world, the fitness world, where things were getting really hot out there. It was between competitions, and whilst I was out there, my mentor reached out to me. He wasn't my mentor then, but a chap named Eli messaged me on Instagram, and he said, "Look, Julian, I like what you're doing. You come across great. You're clearly a good soul. You've got a good interest in your fitness and the people that you work with. You seem very genuine. I want to introduce you to the US market. Like, it'd be great for you to come down to Miami, and we can do some photo shoots. I can introduce you to a few top photographers out here." And long story short, closely following that trip, I ended up taking a trip to Miami. I spent some time with my mentor. I got to know him better. He shot me in swimwear on the beach. I was also shot in swimwear by Ulrich Oman, a world-renowned photographer, and also Saraka, Solomon Araka, but it goes by Saraka on Instagram. And this was 5 years ago, guys. This was 2019, and I was shot wearing various different swimwear. Particularly, it was mostly a brand called Danny Miami. And at that point, it was something totally new to me. I was a bodybuilder at that point. I was still very young. I didn't have a family. I didn't have kids. I hadn't met my missus at that point. Very new into the game and entering this new world, and just really starting to find my feet in the industry. Some confidence, but definitely lacking a lot of confidence. And this was a really uncomfortable step, but one that I knew I needed to make to get into this realm. Anyway, so here I am. I'm in Miami. I've been to Dubai. I'm exploring new realms, and I'm thinking, there's something to this. I might have to do some of this for myself at some point. But more importantly, what that phase of my life represented was stepping into a new world and taking on new challenges and adventure and testing my self-confidence and putting myself into new situations that I hadn't been in before. And when I saw the shots, I really liked what I saw, and I felt quite comfortable doing this sort of thing. And I thought, what? It would be really, really cool to one day develop my own swimwear line, which, embraces physicality, which is a high quality, beautiful product that men who, put a lot of time into their careers, their business progressions, hardworking guys, can feel comfortable wearing, in their downtime, when they're pushing hard in the gym, when they're pushing hard in their careers. I wanted to produce something of quality that enabled men who were ambitious to be able to sit back and enjoy their downtime. Okay, I wanted to create a garment which was comfortable, high quality, classy, that ambitious, driven men who embrace their physicality could feel confident and comfortable wearing. And that's where the inspiration came from. So, again, now we're here 5 years on. It took a huge leap of faith, very similar to that first leap of faith I took in 2019, where, I met with my now mentor, where I got into a bit of swimwear modeling, where I started pushing my online coaching, all the rest of it. And that's really where the inspiration came from. It came from being in Dubai, getting out of my comfort zones, going to Miami, meeting my mentor, getting shot. And incidentally, what I love about this story is it's kind of come full circle. So, 5 years later, almost to the day, in the last 3 weeks, I've been back to Miami again, been back to Dubai. We've shot the new line, titanium swimwear, in both those locations. And that's really, that's really where the inspiration came from, and that's where we're trying to establish the brand. So what does it represent to me personally? To me, it represents this idea that you have to push yourself out of your comfort zones and you have to embrace uncertainty. That's really what this represents on a personal level. This is me, again, taking a leap of faith, embracing uncertainty. There are no guarantees. We could see any level of success with this first release. We could sell all 100 or we could sell none. I just honestly, we'll see, right? We control everything we can, but if you want to create anything of value, if you want to build a brand, if you want to build beautiful garments, all these sort of things, you have to take on a degree of uncertainty. And that's what it means to be entrepreneurial. That's what it means to one day, hopefully, actually attain your potential. And that's what this is about. And that's what I encourage anybody to do. You will not discover your potential unless you are willing to take on some uncertainty. Okay? So that's a bit about that. The next question here is, what challenges have I faced whilst building this brand, and how have I overcome them? Okay, right. So the first challenge was just assessing if there was, a need for this. I'm fully aware it's a very, very competitive, saturated market, the swimwear kind of arena. So the first challenge was, really reflecting on the things that are important to me and how, those truths about what's important to me could potentially create some level of differentiation in the marketplace. Okay. Things that are important to me are doing things properly. I like understated class and styles. I like classic lines. These are all things that I wanted to bring to the table. And the first challenge was really being clear on what I wanted to create. And that took some time to really conceptualize that. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Other challenges and obstacles which were quickly alleviated were, okay, well, where the hell does one even begin in designing a garment? I'm not a designer, okay? I have very limited knowledge on fashion and manufacturing and sourcing materials and all of these things. So, I didn't want to bodge this. And so what I did was I put it out to Instagram. I said, look, who among my followers has experience, has expertise in this field of fashion and manufacturing a piece of clothing and setting up a brand and all the rest of it? And amazingly, one of my clients, Jonathan, one of my coaching clients, Jonathan, put up his hand and said, dude, this is what I do, you know that, right? So that was a huge obstacle, which was very quickly overcome in the early phases, and I teamed up with Jonathan. And you've probably seen in my captions, Jonathan is the designer of the garment. Okay, he is absolutely exceptional at what he does. This guy, my goodness, he has shown his work at New York Fashion Week multiple times, at Tokyo Fashion Week, Monte Carlo. The guy does absolutely phenomenal world-class work, and I feel incredibly grateful, lucky is a good word to describe it, to be working with him, and it completely takes care of this challenge of producing something of the highest quality. I cannot stress this enough. This is a designer product. This is a luxury designer product. It is made with the highest quality fabrics, the highest quality stitch work, the highest quality materials, the most stringent manufacturing processes, the most beautiful considered designs. We made so many iterations throughout this process where I was sent, samples from the factory, where Jonathan was sent samples. He's in New York, I'm obviously in London. These samples are coming from all around and going all around the world, and we're together working on producing something beautiful. So, you know, a big challenge was finding expertise, but actually it was pretty easy. Like once you start the process of overcoming any challenge, I find it usually isn't as hard as you think. And I think the key here is network. The next reflective question is, how does my swimwear line reflect my personal values or lifestyle? Okay, right. Personal values, really, really important. So I believe firmly that the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. Okay? The way you do one thing is the way you do all things. And so you have to do things properly. You have to leave no stone unturned. It was so important that we didn't cut any corners in this process. Like, guys, I will not lie to you, all right? I will not turn a profit if I sell all 100 of these. Not even close. This is very much about establishing a brand. And because we're only releasing 100, and it's very much about, you know, seeing what level of success this can achieve, like this is going to come at a huge cost of time, of finances, of energy. But I really want to set the foundations, and therefore I have not skimped on investment on any of the above: money, time, and energy. I've decided to work with a brilliant designer. We're using the most fantastic materials. You know, it's not going to be profitable in this first release, of course not. But this isn't about quick wins. This is about establishing a beautiful brand which has longevity and sustainability in mind. And at its core, you know, that comes at some level of investment. You know, so for me, one of the key values was I didn't want to sacrifice quality. I didn't want to focus on making a quick buck. Let's have a look. Yeah, I was just seeing the comment there. I am going to go through these questions, all right? Someone just mentioned there about this being a live. I am going to go through these at the end, okay? But I want to go through these. These reflective points first, and then I'm going to come back and go through the questions, okay? So back to where we were. Personal values, it's about doing things properly. It's about quality. It's about establishing a brand with longevity. In terms of lifestyle, how it reflects my lifestyle, the swimwear has to look great, but it also has to be high functioning and of a quality nature, and has to be resilient, and it has to be suitable for actual real life. I didn't want to create a garment which looked amazing on the runway, but the second you bring it into the ocean, or the second you take it into a chlorinated swimming pool, or the second you're on a beach and it gets sandy, that it falls apart. It had to be both beautiful to look at, beautiful in comfort, and also effective in the real world. And for that reason, you know, we've used the best quality materials. We've done so many different design iterations. We've insisted on great stitch work, and just from start to finish, it's been in mind, this needs to be beautiful and functional. It needs to be a performance garment which looks phenomenal as well, okay? And I would say it's in that order. It has to perform well and look and feel amazing. Now, the comfort is phenomenal, okay? The material is beautiful. It's super functional as well, you know. You've seen the images. It's beautifully streamlined. It's got classic lines. It's very understated. You know, it's black on black. It's white on white. That's very much me. An understated style, if you could call it that. Okay, number 4, the question is, what makes this swimwear unique? And how is it different from what's already available? Okay, what makes it unique? So first and foremost, the biggest thing, like if we're just looking at actual concrete differentiators, something that we've done is we've got this really, really cool feature whereby the silicone logo encases a magnetic circle, okay? A magnetized circle sits beneath the logo, and what it means is when you've squeezed the water out of your garment, you can very easily hang it up to dry by placing it on a metal surface. That's just a really, really cool little feature. Other things that make it unique is I've seen so much swimwear out there, and I've seen a lot of very loud swimwear, a lot of very skimpy swimwear, What makes this unique is I've built it and designed it together with Jonathan in a manner which I believe exudes understated quality and class. It's sexy, but at the same time, a little on the conservative side. It's super comfortable, and it can be worn in a kind of fashion conscious arena, but also in a performance arena. If you're going to do laps in the pool or lengths in the pool, this would be ideal. If you want to be lounging on the beach looking really, really good, this is perfect. But I guess the concrete differentiator is the magnetized logo, which is really, really cool. And in terms of like the more nuanced differences about this, I really do believe that it is ultimately an incredibly classic look. Let's have a look here. So the next question is, who is the swimwear line designed for, and how do I envisage it fitting into their lives? Okay, right. So my kind of vision for who this is for, the ideal customer is, it's the guy who is ambitious. It's the guy who embraces adventure. It's the guy who works hard and plays hard. It's the guy who puts effort into his career, into his business, into his family, but also into his physique and his upkeep and his well-being. He values his physical strength. He values his physical appearance and his health. He pushes hard in all domains, and this is the ideal swimwear for the guy who, when he has earned his downtime, he can put on the finest garment and go and relax, whether that's at the poolside, at the spa, at the beach. And it's for the guy who embraces adventure, the guy who embraces exploration, the guy who is comfortable in himself and wants to exude this and be comfortable in relaxation. Okay, that's who we're targeting. Okay, number 6, what lessons have I learned from balancing my coaching business and this new venture? Okay, this is a good one. So as you guys know, I have been coaching for well over 15 years. My online coaching business has been running now for, I think it's 4 years, where I've been exclusively online. The beauty of my coaching business is that I can operate it wherever I am. And I've always prioritized with my coaching being very, very clear and concise with my clients about meeting, if not exceeding expectations with correspondence. I run a very tight ship, a very organized structure, whereby I am attentive to my clients at particular time slots in the day. It's been very, very comfortable for me to stick to those time slots and actually be a little bit kind of more firm with my boundaries. At times I found myself, responding to clients at like 11 p.m. my time. And what I've been able to do is be very, very clear in organizing which slots in the day I'm responding, creating programs, doing marketing, creating social media. Bringing on a new project has forced me to deliver at a higher level and to be much more considerate of using time effectively and procrastinating less. As it transpires, a lot of people aren't too busy, they're just disorganized. And by bringing in a high level of organization, you can fit a lot more in the day. The other cool dynamic here between my coaching and my swimwear line is the two are inextricably linked. I help guys develop awesome physiques and build more confidence. And this is really a product for the guy who lives that lifestyle, the fitness enthusiast, the guy who wants to be in phenomenal shape, the guy who works hard, but also knows that his time to relax is valuable as well. It's really for the high achieving, driven individual who wants to excel in all elements of his life such that he can exceed current levels of fulfillment. All right. So the messaging is very, very similar. I'm here to build formidable men who are comfortable and confident in their own skin. And I'm here to provide a product for those men who value hard work, who value quality, who value class. All of these different things are coming together. Okay. What has been the most rewarding part of building this swimwear line so far? Honestly, the very, very first time I was sent the final iteration with everything in place, the logos and so on and so forth, when that delivery came through and I opened the packet and I saw the titanium logo, the cut's exactly as I wanted it. That was an incredible thing, to hold this piece and be like, this is my brand, this is so cool. A close second was looking at the pro shots that Soraka took in Miami, where I'm actually wearing the garment and being like, holy shit, like, it's all come together. That's the product being worn in its natural environment. That's how it looks on the human body. This is fucking cool. That was a really, really cool moment. And I know it sounds like a small thing, but guys, this has been in construction since March. You know, we're now talking 9 months, almost 8-9 months of development, product development, a lot of communication, a lot of iterations, a hell of a lot of stress at times. It's really been, you know, it's really been a process. So to see it all culminate as a physical product was an incredibly rewarding part of this. What are my goals for the future of this brand? So, I've always been told to be super ambitious and not to kind of downplay what I can achieve. But I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I don't have an expectation. I know what I'd like to do. I'd like to create a really, really prominent brand which, you know, is worn by thousands of men, millions of men worldwide, and to really kind of give you guys, I know I'm going to give you guys a super high quality, beautiful product, but I'd like as many men to enjoy that over the years to come as possible. But honestly, all I want, my future plans for this brand at this point are hopefully to see some level of success with the first release. And, you know, from there it's about, you know, what products come next. And this has always been in mindfulness of being what we call a swim gym brand. So if we see a good level of success with this first release, the next thing that I want to release is some clothing, some garments, some shirts and so on. We started with swimwear just because it made the most sense with like fabrics and proof of concept and all the rest of it. And I've done some of that sort of modeling in the past, so it made a lot of sense. But this is really like, it's a swim gym brand, okay? And it's a swim gym lifestyle brand. So what I mean by that is, you know, we're envisaging creating garments which are appropriate to wear in the gym, but also appropriate to wear as you kind of strip down the gym. You strip down to your swimsuits and you're in the gym, pool, or you're at the beach. Like, we want to integrate and create a swim gym lifestyle, okay, which is, like I say, gym wear and swimwear as well. So that's the vision for the future. If we see a good level of success with this first launch, we're likely going to do, I'm a huge fan of like oversized air tech style, light fitting, but again, at the center of it, it needs to be classy, it needs to be quality, it needs to be understated fashion. So that's what we're looking at, you know, for the next step, depending on the level of success we see with this first run, right? Of which, like, I'm being super truthful and objective. There are no guarantees. I have limited data. I've had amazing market feedback so far, but we'll know when we know, right? Like, the drop is on Monday, and it might be that we sell out like that. It might be literally within, you know, 5 minutes we're sold out. Or it might not be the case. I had just a message here come through. I have a couple of suggestions regarding the marketing of it. Let me know if you need help. Would not be charged, since I am sold by a few objectives that you have said in this live session. So kudos. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Yeah, send me a DM. I'm always curious to hear advice, whether I take it or not. You know, depends on whether it aligns with my values and so on and so forth. But I really appreciate that. I've got experience in marketing fitness. This less so, but I am working with, like I say, I am working with phenomenal professionals who are incredibly experienced in this field, and I'm very much leaning on my team when it comes to elements of this business that I'm not experienced in. Like, I cannot stress enough how wonderful my esteemed designer Jonathan has been, having, you know, released several lines himself. and done incredible work. Like, this guy has been phenomenal with logistics, with marketing suggestions, with web development, all these different elements, all these different turning wheels, these moving parts. He's been phenomenal. And I absolutely, I hold my hand up and say, look, that's not my field of expertise. What do you propose we do here? I have diverted to the experts at most every turn and given the green light on my judgment. But trust me, there has been zero ego attached to this process. I have a vision. I'm very clear on that vision. I'm very clear on my values. But, in terms of some of the practical components involved in making that vision a reality, I've diverted to the experts on countless occasions. I'm not ashamed to say that. Final question, okay? How can my viewers support me on this journey? Guys, it's really simple. Liking is great. I've had a really good response to the images, the reels that have been going up the last few days. Like, people love it. I posted a story late last night, so like maybe 8-9 hours ago, saying, what would you prefer to get, black, white, or both? And we had like over 150 votes within a couple of hours. The mailing list is growing really fast, but what would be really useful to me is if you can share some of these posts onto your stories. I'd be super grateful. Also, join the mailing list, okay? wear-ti.com, and just put your email and you click subscribe, and that's it. 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds. You don't need to put in any of the details. You don't even need to put in your name. You don't need to put in your phone number. It's literally just the email. And that way we can email you ahead of the drop. So you're going to stay notified with when those drops occur and future drops as well. All right. So I guess it's sharing some of the posts. I'll be super, super grateful if you can share some of the posts. Join the subscriber mailing list. Okay. wear-ti.com. The link is also in my bio. And that's really it. And buy some of the swimwear. Okay. Monday we go live. 50 black, 50 white. Remember, even distribution of small, medium, and large. So I'd imagine the most common size is going to be medium. That's what I wear. I'm a 30 to 32. I'm currently like 95 kilos. So what is that? Like 212 pounds at 178 centimeters, or 5'10" and a bit. Just for the reference, okay. Obviously, it's a beautiful. It's like a stretch in the material, right? And there is a band and everything. So, there's going to be some scope there for deviation from the ideal size. It is going to fit. If it's a bit too big or a bit too small, it can be adjusted, right? That goes without saying. But let me just go through some of the comments. All right, so that's pretty much the 10 reflective questions. I just want to quickly, before I go through these questions, just say these questions here on the live. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for the support that you're showing, guys. Many of you submitted your emails already. If you haven't, head to wear-ti.com and submit your email to get on the mailing list. And like and share would be really, really helpful if you're looking for ways to support this. Like and share to your stories. I'll be super grateful. Right, let's go through some of these questions. I know live is supposed to be interactive, but what I will say as well is I will post this, so you can always ask questions in the comments. Okay, so Hyro Swimwear is fire. Yeah, man, I am so happy with the finish. Obviously, I've been wearing it the last 3 weeks in Miami, in Dubai. I am overjoyed with it. It's come out. It's exceeded my expectations. It is such a beautiful product. And remember, I think often it gets overlooked. Chiefly, I don't have a brand. I don't have a future in this brand or this business unless you guys are blown away with how good this really is when you receive it. Okay, so I am proud of it. Happy to put my name on it. Jonathan, our esteemed designer, is happy to put his name to it as well. It's beautiful. Okay, am I interested in men? No, I'm not sure what that's got to do with this live. I'm straight. My missus and my little boy are in that room right over there behind me. So I'm not interested in men other than to make men happy through the attainment of acquiring awesome physiques and wearing awesome swimwear. That's what I do here. Do you got Twitter? Yes, I have Twitter. It's exactly the same as this handle here, Julian_titanium. So check that out. Let's have a look here. What else have we got? A lot of Spanish. Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish. Show your back. It ain't that kind of that live, my friend. Okay. A lot of Spanish. This is great, but I don't speak Spanish. Okay. Hello, I am from Mexico. How long have you been training and what is your height? 18 years I've been training and I am 178 centimeters. So manly, hairy and bold. Do you know what? It's funny that I actually had an email come through a couple of days ago from a hair transplant company. They offered me 3 nights stay in Istanbul, the full procedure, a tour of Istanbul, flights, hotel, everything covered, and they wanted me to do a couple of feed posts on Instagram and 4 stories. And it's like I was like, that's a sweet deal. If I wanted a hair transplant, like being a bold guy now has just become part of my identity. Like I think it would be weird to have hair now. Yeah, it's, I don't know, I just don't think it would make sense anymore. Okay, where are we? Next question. Have you got one to show us? I do, but I'm going to show you guys likely tomorrow or Monday when we release, okay? Okay. What sets titanium apart from Calvin Klein or a Lacoste? Well, at this point in time, there are millions of people with Calvin Klein trunks and Lacoste trunks. There's only 2 people at the moment with titanium swimsuits. That's Jonathan Hayden, the phenomenal New York City designer, and myself. So exclusivity, among other things, is what sets titanium apart from those 2 massive brands. Okay, let's have a look here. What other questions do we have? You said, this question is quite important to me, working in a modelling agency myself, dealing with fitness brands on a daily basis. Yeah. I can go into a lot more detail with that. But in the interest of this live, we'll consolidate it with a bit of a humorous response. But I'll add a little bit. In principle, I think this brand is so heavily geared towards an unapologetic embracing of physicality. I don't think Lacoste, I don't think Calvin Klein are really about that. They're not really about a sense of adventure. This is really targeted so clearly for men who have ambition, who are willing to take on uncertainty, who are willing to venture into new realms, to take on new challenges, and who value strength of character, of physicality, and who value quality and doing things properly. These are all things that come to mind when I think about what I want to create here. And it may share some commonalities with Calvin Klein and Lacoste. But this brand is really a reflection of the values that I hold in high importance. A desire to fulfill potential, a desire to become stronger, a desire to put in work, a comfort with knowing that building strength is still okay in today's day and age. These are all thoughts that come through in this process of building a brand. Lots of comments about my hairy body. Do you know, this is actually This is actually a less hairy version. Sorry, my mind wandered there as some of the question. Where are these questions being asked? No, these are my own reflections. This is a process that I've been going through myself, because it is an absolute minefield developing a brand whilst running a coaching business, whilst being a father, whilst being a husband, whilst doing all these different things. It's crazy. I'm not a one-man band, but ahead of the launch on Monday, I wanted to go through these questions myself. I wanted to really go deeper in being super, super clear to myself where we are at and where we want to go. And as I was thinking about these reflective questions this morning, before I go spend the morning with my boy, and then we go off to see family this afternoon, I wanted to bring you guys in on this as well. I wanted to share these questions with you to give you an insight, like unfiltered insight into where my head is. Okay. Okay, someone here said, sounds great, availability and when. It says they're going to be 100 available only, all right? 100 garments going to be made available, 50 black, 50 white, small, medium and large. So like on average, call it 15 of each in each color, which is not a lot. And they are available on Monday. I'm thinking I need to be mindful of Western time, so West Coast. I need to confirm this with my designer, but I would imagine we're going to go live, like, I don't know, probably something like 9 a.m. or it'd be like 5 p.m. UK time, which would be midday East Coast and then morning West Coast. Selena, don't stress. This is an unpolished live. You didn't throw me off my train of thought at all. I'm also a little bit food deprived this morning. I need to eat something. My head's all over the place. I need some carbs, I think. So it's not just your question throwing me off there. I've just realised that I need to go and eat something in a minute. I'm going to Thailand in March. I will get one. Dude, you're going to look absolutely awesome. Beachside, poolside. John Fletcher. I like the idea of the magnet. Yeah, it's cool. We haven't seen it before. It went through a lot of different iterations, because initially the magnet wasn't strong enough. Then we were worried about, could the magnet corrode over time? So we actually ended up encasing the magnet in silicone and then stitching it in behind the silicone logo. So it's completely protected from water now as well. Will it be Speedo style or more trunks? Have a look on my page, dude. You'll see it right there. I guess you'd call it a Speedo, but it's a really classy, almost slightly more conservative. It's almost like super short shorts / Speedos. It's kind of an in-between, but it leans more heavily. It's like 90% Speedo, I would say. Do we have any designs right now? Yeah, Selena, look on my page. We've been showing them. Have a look, check it out. Okay. Let's have a look here. Any other questions we've got? Love hairy men. I've not heard that one before. Okay. Much love from Greece. I think we're pretty much coming to the end of these questions. It's trunks, guys. Speedos, you can call them as well. Let's have a look, see what else we've got. I think that's pretty much it. So guys, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for the love and support. Final comments are, if you haven't already, subscribe on wear-ti.com. Okay, and I will keep you posted with updates on the drop on Monday. Okay, you don't want to miss it. It's only 50 black garments and only 50 whites. So subscribe now. It's just an email submission, and I can keep you posted with when that drop happens exactly. But again, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the energy that you guys are showing. And yeah, I'll keep you posted. I'm going to put out another reel later today. Probably one that shows it a little bit more in the use of the swimming pool setting. So look out for that. Cheers, guys.